This is my Z Flip 6 and this is what my hinge sounds like 1 month later. It's been an entire month with the Z Flip 6 and since I made my first 24 hours later video, there have been a few things that have changed. Some for the better and some for the worse. We're gonna talk about it today. Let's get it. Can you do that with your Z Flip 6? I didn't think so. Start with the most important thing, the crease. When I first took the phone out of the box, the crease was barely even visible, and that's something that surprised me, and I talked about it in my first 24 hours video. But over the month, this crease has creased a little bit more. Like it's gotten a little bit deeper, a little bit more pronounced. It's still nowhere near like the Z Flip 3 or the Z Flip 4 crease, so it's still, very well hidden, subtle, I would say, but it is getting a little bit deeper, and I kind of expected that just because of how flat it was out of the box. But crease aside, there is a new sound that the glass is making that is causing me to worry just a little bit. When I first opened my phone, my glass was making a click sound, and we talked about it in the first video. When you kind of get closer to open it, see that? It just clicks open. But now it's making a lot more of a grinding noise, both when I open it and when I close it. This phone is basically new. There's no way that particles or dust or glass or grime got behind the hinge or into the hinge because, like I said, it's fresh, it's new. I haven't even been putting it anywhere where it could get dust or grime inside. So that means that this noise is coming from the glass, not the hinge. And we proved in the last video that this glass, this inner glass display, is a lot thicker than the previous flips. So this glass is a thicker glass and it's more prone to shattering. And so if I am right and the sound is coming from the glass itself, then there's two possible outcomes. Number one, the glass is going to keep creaking until it settles, until it gets flexible enough, it settles in and it'll stop creaking. Number two, the glass is going to creak until it shatters, and once it shatters, it'll stop creaking. Really, I don't know what I'm worried about. Now, to mitigate and protect my phone as much as possible, because there's very little I can do, to be honest, but to protect it as much as possible, as you can see, I've got a case on the phone. I don't usually put cases on phones. I don't usually do that. I've done it here. So that was the build and protection of the phone. Now let's talk a little bit about battery, because battery was one of the bigger issues that I had in my first few weeks. I was barely getting 5 hours of screen on time, and it was almost no better than the Z Flip 5 that I was leaving behind. But over a whole month of it becoming more optimized to my usage and enabling a few hacks and features, in my last video, I got 10 hours of screen on time. This was my day in the life video, and obviously I had to activate a few hacks in order to get that to happen. The first hack was to enable adaptive battery. It's not really a hack, but it's something that you definitely want to do just to improve your battery life overall. It also works based on your usage, so it does take a little bit to optimize and enable that and see the effects. And the second one was modes. I made a very specific routine that whenever I closed my phone all the way, it would enter battery saving mode, and so the apps in the background were always on standby, but they were also using a lot less battery, and that also helped in increasing my screen on time to almost 10 hours. Now, if you're worried that you're not gonna get notifications, don't be, because I'm still getting all the notifications from my device. And if you want more hacks and features that you absolutely have to enable, check out my 5 best features on the Z Flip 5 video, because I'm going over all of those in that video. It was like out last week or 2 weeks ago. And so now, 1 month later, the battery has been pretty awesome. It's been kind, and I'm not really complaining about it at all. Obviously, we're still not at S24 Ultra levels or S23 Ultra, but it's still very, very good, and it lasts me throughout the entire day with absolutely no issue at all. And as far as battery degradation is concerned, don't be concerned about that, because it's only been a month. Nothing is gonna degrade in a month's time. It's gonna be over 6 months where we're gonna see that real degradation happen. And if you want to stay up to date for all of that, make sure to smash the subscribe button, because we are gonna be bringing you guys that update when that 6-month time period happens. But also, if you want to support the channel in more ways than Gen 1, then check out chilledfossil.com to get yourself some awesome mouse pads. This is a salmon bowl one of my absolute favorites, and that one is your guys' favorite, the Starry mouse pad. So a lot of you guys like that one. I love this one, but check it out at chilledfossil.com. Now we've talked about the build, we've talked about the battery. Let's talk a little bit about performance, because we do have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 in this beast, okay? This is a beast. That processor is absolutely a beast, but Samsung has actually added a few handicaps to limit the power of that processor so it doesn't heat up too much, damaging components. So how does that impact your day-to-day usage? Let's talk about that just a little bit. So out of the box, animations are really fast. I've never had issues with glitches or anything like that so far 1 month in. And also gaming is a very nice experience, especially if you're doing things like Genshin Impact or Call of Duty Mobile. Those run without any issues whatsoever. But there are two highlight features of this processor and of those experiences. Number one is battery efficiency. Even though you're running these high battery usage games or these, power hungry games, it does so in a most efficient way, because while you're running these games, all of the apps in the background are literally taking up less than 1% of the battery. So it quiets out all of the noise incredibly well, and so you get a lot more efficient battery usage. But number two is heat management, because the phone actually doesn't get that hot. The only time I've noticed the phone get hot while gaming is if you're gaming while you have it plugged into a charger. That's when it'll get hot, but that's probably because of the charge, not so much of the game. But outside of that, if you're gaming on Wi-Fi, you're not really gonna have any heating, and that is big because heating issues can cause damages to the device itself and to the components. But that's also a drawback, because Samsung has removed a few different features like Samsung DeX and multitasking features to make sure that you can't really overclock the processor and do too much, causing excessive heating and causing damage to the components. So it's kind of like a Samsung nerfing its own phone to make sure you can't do too much to hurt your own phone. Now obviously the S24 Ultra also has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, but that one also has DeX, and it has a bunch of other features with the S Pen. So if you are someone who is hyper focused on productivity, this might just not be the phone for you. You definitely want to go for something like the S24 Ultra, because that one gives you the full range of possibility with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. This phone, it's cute, okay? It's very cute. It's incredibly cute. And I did try to get DeX on this device. Obviously, you know me, Hacker Central, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just kidding. The most hack thing that I've ever done was brick my PSP. So relax. Anyways, I did try to get desktop mode on this phone, and you can do that by going into developer settings and then enabling desktop mode or forcing desktop mode. And that basically means that when you plug this phone in USB-C to an HDMI port on an external monitor, you can use the external monitor as a secondary display. Is it actually any worth in productivity? No. It's super clunky, it's super annoying, and I just think it gets in the way. It does not improve productivity at all. And you can't connect it to an external monitor wirelessly. You have to do it through a wire. I just don't like that setup at all, so I'm not even gonna talk about it anymore in this video. But DeX, the one we know and love, the one we have on the Ultras, is just not gonna be on this phone. And let's finish up with the cameras. How are the cameras on the Z Flip 6? Well, first of all, outer facing camera, major update over the last Flip device we had, and it's been pretty awesome over the past month as well. I mean, I've shown it off so many times now in my day in the life video. We did all the videos and photos and all of that over our trip into Toronto, so it was really surprisingly good. And what's surprising is I haven't really seen new updates for the camera roll through, which is weird, because when a Samsung phone comes out, much of those first few upgrades are for the cameras, because there's tons of issues and glitches with the cameras itself, and we record them on this channel. But this phone really hasn't had many major camera bug fixes coming out over the past month, and that's a good sign. It's a lot more of a polished product. So the camera is a giant leap for Flip users, but also there is a lot of AI features baked into this camera. Now, in a previous video, like the features video, I talked about all of the AI features you can use, and there's a ton of them, and it's a ton of fun. You have a cute phone with a lot of cute features, okay? But AI is also really rampant in the photo post-production that the phone automatically does. One of the ways the photos on this phone look so good is because the phone goes in and smears out the dark spots in your photos and your videos. So all of those dark spots, which used to just become grain in like the previous devices, now they're like actually full black, and that's the AI kicking in, but it does so very specific in targeted dark areas. So the actual subject of the image itself is still detailed. It doesn't smear out too much of the detail from the subject. It only does the background and the dark spots, and it also fills in things as well. So if there's like text in the background which is getting blurry because that's very fine text or like a sign, it'll actually have the AI kick in and fill out whatever that sign was supposed to say or whatever it thinks it was supposed to say. So you'll notice all of this AI kicking in and trying to fill in the image's background to try to remove grain, reduce just overall clarity. It's an interesting way to improve the quality of the camera, not by going crazy on improving the hardware, but instead by improving the software. The drawback to that is it does use a little bit more battery, but we have a bigger battery in this phone, 300 milliamp hours more, plus with all the hacks that I mentioned, we're still getting a whole day's worth of usage. So in a day-to-day sort of thing, it doesn't really make too big of an impact. Now, I made a whole video talking about the AI features, from generative wallpapers to generative AI and some other hacks that you can enable to get the most out of your device. If you want to see that video, definitely check it out in the description below or click right here. Until next time, take it easy. Peace.